Hi, it's Amy from the Ross Farm, and this is Sheep and Wool School, episode 12. We've done a dozen. Can you believe it? It's kind of crazy. So glad to be here with you today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to do a little bit more of a dive into the Hog Island sheep. So that's coming up very soon. We'll talk about places I've been and things I've done and what I'm knitting and all of that sort of thing as well. So thanks for coming. And if you have not already subscribed, please do so. And follow us over on Instagram, Facebook, or here on the YouTube. So first up for us today is on the needles. And you're not going to believe this. I have gotten almost the whole first section done of my Hitofude cardigan. I think if I hold it up like this, you can really see the patterning of the stitches. And I have to do 15 repeats before I go on to the next section. And I have 12 and a half done. So that's very exciting. I had a lot of car knitting this week, which we'll talk about later. But I had an awful lot of car knitting this week, and I got an awful lot done on it. So I'm really excited to be making progress. I still hope it'll be done for Maryland Sheep and Wool. And it's looking like it's very possible at least the first section will be done. So Busty Betty up there can at least have something to cover her shoulders. But I've got a lot of car knitting to do tomorrow as well. Tomorrow will be Easter here for those who celebrate. And so we will be going back to PA to visit the family. And so I will have 2 hours each direction of knitting time. So exciting. I'll be really excited to see everybody and eat all the good food, but also to have 4 solid hours of knitting time. So that's coming along. Really excited. Again, that is the Hitofude, Hitofude cardigan. And it's a Japanese designer, and I'm not going to butcher her name, but if you look that up on Ravelry, you can definitely find it. It's only $2 for the pattern. It's an older pattern, but it is a very, very wearable cardigan and looks good with just about everything. And like I said, this is the second one I'm knitting. I don't generally knit something twice. I never have before, except the Carbeth. I am knitting a second Carbeth, and I'm knitting a second Hitofude. So, yeah, really exciting. So if you want to knit along with me, I know of one other person who is knitting a Hitofude right now while I am. And shout out to Suzanne at my knitting guild. I know she's knitting one because she contacted me and asked me which size I recommended that she knit. So I know she's working on it. And I hope there's others of you out there because, you know, if you knit it in Cheviot, Leicester Longwool, Jacob, or Hog Island, you can put it in our anything along. And that'll be too exciting. Yay. Okay, so sheep and wool school for today. The topic this month is the Hog Island sheep. And these are one of my very favorite breed because they are extremely rare and homegrown here in the US. The breed started, as we mentioned last week, on Hog Island, which is off the coast of Virginia. It's kind of in the Assateague, Chincoteague, that sort of island chain, one of the barrier islands in Northern Virginia. So I would like to go there this summer. I'm planning a trip over to the Eastern Shore, and I am thinking that maybe I will just have to take a little ride, at least past it, and see it from the shore. But I'm very interested in doing that. But today we're talking about fiber. And what I have in front of me is a freshly shorn fleece from one of our Hog Island sheep. And we just had everybody shorn about a week ago, 2 weeks maybe. 2 weeks. Seems like maybe it was 2 weeks. Could have been 3. Lots of stuff going on here. I have not skirted this yet. I have not picked through it for VM. You see, I'm doing that now. So this is from one of our Hog Island fleeces, and you'll see it is not white. This would be, I would say, a gray one. This is absolutely raw. So it may surprise me and be much lighter than this when I wash it up, but it is definitely not white. And if you look at the, this is the top side here, but if you turn it over, you can see on the back side, it is definitely not white. It has a lot of dark fiber shot through it. And then if you look at the lock itself very closely, which I did take a close-up shot of the particular lock that I pulled, and it is definitely gray. This is probably a 2-inch staple length, which is a little bit shorter than I can usually grow them. We had a bit of a drought condition last year. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But normally 2 to 3 inches is about all you're going to get. So it's going to be a shorter fiber. But if you can see how strong it is and how squishy and springy it is, these are great wools. The Hog Island is really great for making hard wearing, very squishy accessories. That's kind of my go-to for Hog Island, is usually accessories. So this has a pretty small crimp. I would say this is on the finer end of medium. This one seems to have a lot more of a down breed characteristic to it. It's not very long, and it's kind of disorganized. So, like we talked about last week, there was some probable Dorset, Hampshire kind of influence in the feral creation of this particular breed. And I would say this particular sheep is probably throwing back to those genetics. We've got a shorter staple length. She is one of my larger Hog Island sheep, so more of a meat breed carcass size than a lot of the Hog Islands that I have. So I thought this would be an interesting fleece to look at. Next week, I'll try to pull a different fleece so that we can see the difference between each of them. The thing with these being a very rare breed and one that developed practically ferally on an island without human interaction, or just relying on natural selection, basically, is that you will have all sorts of fleece types, a lot of differences in size of animals, just depending on which of the genetics that particular animal is expressing. So they all look pretty similar. And if you remember last week, I showed the photograph of 3 of my Hog Island ewes lined up, and it happened to be a white one, a gray one, and a black one. And again, I didn't set that up. That's just the way they stack themselves. But you can see there's a wide range of difference in shades. There's a wide range of fleece types, and they can be more or less similar in size, but you can have some very small ones and some much larger ones. So it's very interesting. But this, I'll probably, I have a thing to go to with Drew at the end of the month to demonstrate period spinning. I believe it's in Pittsburgh. I want to say it's at the Neville Homestead, but I could be wrong. Anyways, I will be spinning there, and I think this is probably going to be a fleece that I wash and card and spin to show the fleeces that are being raised basically at Mount Vernon. I was online, and this is something I wanted to talk about today. I was online the other day, and I saw somebody posting something about this being a colonial breed and a breed that was around in colonial times. And I would like to reiterate that no, this is a modern sheep breed that created from breeds that would have been around in colonial times. But there were humans tending flocks of whatever breed it was on Hog Island until the 1930s. And after the people were evacuated after the weather event, then the sheep began to develop into the breed that we know today in the 1930s and 40s. So this is not a colonial breed. It is an American breed. It is a rare breed. It is a breed unto itself, but it is a breed that developed fairly from multiple different sheep of multiple different breeds that were left on Hog Island when the humans were evacuated. So, yes, it could have Tunis in it, a colonial breed. Yes, it could have Leicester Longwool in it, a colonial breed. Yes, it could have Dorset in it. It definitely does. These are all breeds that would have been available in the colonial times, but Hog Island sheep would at that point have been referring to sheep that were kept on Hog Island, not a breed called Hog Island sheep. Just like Pennsylvania sheep or Winchester sheep or Pittsburgh sheep. That was just noting where the sheep resided, not a breed of sheep. So this is not a colonial breed. This is a breed that developed fairly in the 20th century. Okay? Just want to be real clear with that. But they are definitely recognized as a rare breed. There's less than about 400 in existence, which is why we preserve them, which is why I'm so passionate about them. But they are a relatively new invention. So just want to be real clear on that so that we're all on the same page, because we certainly have lots and lots of colonial breeds to talk about. This is not one of them. So again, if you have any questions about any of the breeds we talk about, if I don't have the answer, I know people who do. So please feel free, drop a comment down below, ask whatever it is that's nagging your brain that you would like an answer to, because I am happy to answer them in the next episode. But I'm always online. I'm always in the spinning and weaving and knitting and sheep groups. And every time I see somebody giving information that is not actually correct, it kind of makes me a little bit nuts, because the information is out there. And if you need information, please feel free to ask me. Like I said, if I don't know, I know who does, and we'll figure it out together. And this is always a learning journey, not just for you, for all of us. I love researching sheep breeds. And if there's a particular breed that you're into, I'm happy to look up that one too. Right now, I'm kind of obsessed with a new friend's flock in Norway. So I'm working on getting some fleeces from Norway so that I can study this particular Norwegian heritage breed. But the Hog Island, I love it very much. It's one of my favorites. And from the minute we got Nell from Mount Vernon, they've had a special place in my heart, and they will continue to do so. And fun fact, I found out over the weekend that there are now, for the first time, Hog Island sheep at Colonial Williamsburg. it's always been very frustrating because, and I actually had to make Wikipedia change it. Um, they always said that when the sheep were brought off of Hog Island, that they went to this place, that place, the other place, and Colonial Williamsburg. Well, my friend ran the rare breeds program at Colonial Williamsburg, and she told me multiple times that they did not come there. So I'm taking her word for it, not Wikipedia. And so I was talking with my friend who runs the flock at Mount Vernon the other day, and she said that about a year ago, she and the folks at CW traded, and now Mount Vernon has a few Leicester Longwolves, and Colonial Williamsburg has two or three Hog Islands. And the reason that I contacted her and asked was because, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but when I was going down the street in Colonial Williamsburg, I did one of those, what? Because there was a horned sheep in the pasture, and I knew Leicester Longwolves don't have horns. This does not compute. What is that? And I saw the speckles on the face and the set of horns, and I immediately thought, that's a Hog Island. What's it doing here? So I reached out and I said, why is there a Hog Island? Why am I looking at a Hog Island in Colonial Williamsburg? And then I found out that they did a swap about a year ago. So if you're in Colonial Williamsburg the next time, look around, and if you see something with horns, it's a Hog Island. And he was really cute too. They're wethers, so they're just kind of there for decorative purposes. But I love that because I love Hog Islands. So next up is technique time. And I'm probably going to film a little short about this particular technique. But this week I was working on paper piecing. Now, I've been doing paper piecing for a long time, and there are different ways to do it. There's English paper piecing where the paper goes inside and you wrap your piece around it and you baste it and then you sew everything together, and that's a real pain in the tush. But this particular kind is really, really cool for doing moderately intricate designs or not, and making them extremely accurate. The beauty of paper piecing is you're sewing on a particular line. And if you look on the left-hand side, there are lines and the pieces are numbered. So on the right-hand side, you see that piece number 1 is green. So that is the background. Well, that's the colored fabric that will end up being covered up. So you have that green piece that is as big as the entire paper on the left-hand side, and then you add the white pieces, and actually you add much larger white pieces in the order on there. So number 2 first, then number 3, then number 4, then number 5, and then you trim the whole thing down to even with the edge of the paper. If you see, the paper has an edge line and then a line that's actually 1/4 of an inch in from there, and that 1/4 of an inch would be your sewing line, so that you make sure you have that 1/4 inch seam allowance on the outside of the particular motif. So this is a raindrop, and I actually laid it there on the top of Kaif's cabinet, facing the opposite direction. But the pointy part toward the bottom, that is actually the bottom of the raindrop. So when we talk about sewing in a couple of minutes, you'll see all of the blocks that I made using these paper templates all together. But it's really cool because you sew directly on those marked lines, and then when you're all finished sewing and you've trimmed all the way around, then you peel the paper away and you've sewn through the paper, so the tiny stitches on the lines actually create like a perforation, so it peels right off. And I just used copy paper. The pattern itself was in the motif itself was in the pattern booklet, and all I had to do was photocopy it on my tabletop printer, and then cut it out around the edges, around that outer line where the seam allowance is, and just piece right on there, peel it all off, and then we're done. So I want to actually do a little short video in the coming days about exactly how I did that, because it's a really cool technique. And I think if you're struggling to get your points, that this is a good option. So that brings us to our sewing segment. And this week I was working on all of those paper pieced raindrops for a raindrop pillow top. And it turned out way better than it's not completely put together yet, but I got all of the motifs pieced, and then I got them all into their rows. So now I just need to put, you can see I sewed the rows all together, and then I sewed 2 of the rows with the sashing together on the left, and then the other 3 rows I need to put the sashing on those and then attach them all together, and that will end up being a 20-inch pillow top. 20 inch is the size that I really like because it's not too big for me to machine quilt with Cafe, and an IKEA pillow form fits right into it. So I have a lot of the 20-inch pillow forms from IKEA, and those pillow tops I can kind of just swap out seasonally. And so I don't have a ton of pillows to store. I just take the top off and put a new one on for a new season. And you'll see that as well when I start swapping out the bench pillow that is on the couch in the living room. I showed it a week or 2 ago with the Easter baskets bench pillow top on it, but I have one for every month. I have kite flying for May. I have a patriotic one for the 4th. All sorts of different things. And I really like decorating with my handmade pieces, and I'm pretty sure you do too. And I also like decorating with pieces that I have gotten that other people have made, whether as gifts, or I'm the crazy person who ends up in the thrift store buying the hand appliqued or hand embroidered linens. I just picked up a couple new ones. I'll have to get a picture and show it to you. But one of my very favorite things that I found at the thrift store the last time we were there, because we have this little out of the way thrift store that we go to on the way to Amish country, and it's really sad that they know us there now, and they know pretty much what I'm looking for, and they'll yell out like, "Hey, Aim, go look at this," and I just sort of giggle. But anybody who knows me knows that one of my very favorite things in the world is pink dogwoods. My parents planted a pink dogwood in our backyard at my childhood home when I was born, and I've always loved them. So I found a little, like a tea table cloth. It's a tablecloth, but it's a very small square, like for a tea table, that is appliqued and embroidered with pink dogwoods. So I'll have to get a picture of that for you, but it's one of my favorite things. I just washed and pressed and starched it because my grandmother always made me starch my linens. So I can't not starch my vintage linens when I'm pressing them, because I'm not trying to get haunted. Grandma would want me to do that. So that's what I'm working on in the sewing studio right now. I'm trying to decide if I want to, since I'm almost done with this raindrops thing, if I want to cut out something new and try to finish another project before the end of the month, because on April 1st, my UFO project for the polka dot pincushion challenge will get drawn, and then I'll have to work on that project for the month of May. And the month of May is going to be a little bit crazy, so I'm hoping it's one of the smaller projects. I may have to swap numbers. Once during the year, you get to trade one of the projects on your list for a different project if you think it's going to be too much. And the way the schedule's going right now, there's 3 or 4 months that are going to be too much, so I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to keep up, but I'm trying really hard. So I got finished early this year. I'm thinking about maybe cutting and trying to piece another project, or maybe I should just do some binding or machine quilt a few of the other small pieces that I've finished recently. What do you think? I'm not sure which one I should do. I really want to make something else, but I should probably finish up some of the things that are kind of 3/4 of the way and now in limbo. So if you have an opinion about which one of those things I should do, you can drop a comment down below too. Because I don't know what I'm going to do. So also I want to talk about for our new and noteworthy segment, I'm really, really excited that we now have a line of wholesale yarns for yarn stores and or indie dyers. This has been a dream of mine for several years to be able to do runs large enough that I would have enough for the website and the fiber festivals and everything, and then have extra that could either go to local yarn stores or to indie dyers for them to dye and use as part of their line. So we have been working with some of our friends and neighbors who raise rare and heritage breed sheep as well. And everything went to the mill last year, and then the mill's closed, and then it went to another mill. And so it's starting to come back now. I had really hoped that I would have it in my grubby little paws by the time we recorded this week, but it is held up and it will be here on Monday. So next week I should definitely be able to show you some of the new stuff. But if you are an indie dyer, if you have a local yarn store, or you have a friend who has a local yarn store, or you just want to get Ross Farm yarns into the yarn store that is local to you, please feel free to contact us through the website, drop a comment down below. However you want to get in touch with us, you can Facebook message us, Instagram message us, send a carrier pigeon, write it on the side of a bridge, skywriting works, whatever. I'm really excited to be able to launch this. We've had a couple of big losses in the yarn community over the last few weeks. And I've heard from a couple of my friends that they're going to be taking a break. I can't tell you who they are yet because they haven't announced it, but it kind of makes me sad. I know Brooklyn Tweed just announced that they are going to cease yarn production. So I'm hoping that maybe folks who had Brooklyn Tweed would consider working with our heritage and rare breed yarns as well, because everything we do is raised right here in the mid-Atlantic, eastern coast. It's all milled here in the US. What we have that's dyed is dyed here in Ohio. So I'm hopeful that we can help to fill that void. But there's going to be a couple more voids coming open, and it really makes me sad. So there's a wholesale line coming and a lot of new yarns. And those yarns are going to debut at Maryland Sheep and Wool. We are just about 2 weeks away. I'm starting to get really nervous. It's a very good thing that you cannot see anything but right here, because everything else is crazy pants. I have the Louette has been delivered. The new yarn is coming. I've got other yarns pulled down. I am trying to get some yarns that came back from the mill a little while ago, all labeled, and get ready to load the trailer and head for the Howard County Fairgrounds in 2 weeks. And I'm really excited. Kathy is coming along with me. If you guys have seen our booth recently, you have seen Kathy helping out, and she does some amazing hand-spun art yarn from our fibers. And we're also bringing Grandma Sharon. So if you remember Grandma Sharon, she's coming along. And my favorite little Cajun firecracker, Shannon from Mississippi, is coming too. So I just got to see her at Nash Yarn Fest, and it had been way too long. And so I said, "Do you want to come to Maryland or what?" And she's like, "I'm in, getting the ticket. I'm on my way." So I'm really excited. We will have lots of help for you in the booth. We will have lots of product. and we will have lots of fun. So you need to stop by barn 4, spaces 12 and 14, I believe. We have a double, and the way they number it is like odds on one side, evens on the other. So even though it sounds like we have 2 different locations, 12 and 14 are the same. They're on the same side and they're next to each other. So we have a double booth, barn 4, right there on the midway, Maryland Sheep and Wool. Oh, and I haven't mentioned this at all, but Drew is participating this year in the Youth Conservationist Project, and he will be giving not 1, but 2 North Country Cheviot yearling ewes to young women who have written an essay about their desire to start their own flock of heritage and rare breed sheep. So they chose the North Country Cheviot, and we are really, really excited to be able to give them that little jump start by providing them with a North Country Cheviot yearling ewe to start their flock at no cost to them. It's absolutely free. And if you have a child between the ages of 12 and 18, next year you can also write for a Youth Conservationist Project sheep. And I invite all of you to come to the presentation ceremony, which is usually between 11 and noon, 11 and 1 on Sunday. And Drew and Riley and I will be there to hand a 2 North Country Cheviot ewes to 2 young women. So really excited about that as well. That's something new going on. In addition to our new yarns and everything else. So this week we were out and about. We had a few days before my show season and John's racing season starts. If you remember, he's a television director in the horse racing industry, and so that's why we have this really cool setup for videos, because he knows what he's doing. So right before his season starts and my season starts, we always try to take a little tiny getaway, and we were only gone 3 or 4 days, 3.5 days ish. And we just take back roads and go to out of the way locations that nobody but us would care about, honestly. And we just have the best time because we've been down these roads many, many times. And like, I mean, we've been best friends since we were 15. So there's been a lot of trips like this. And a lot of the places we go, I used to go with my parents when I was a child. And a lot of the places we go, he's been before with his family. And we kind of really enjoy like getting to know each other even better by sharing our stories when we're out on the road. So this time we actually took off from our home in Ohio, and our first stop was Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, and I didn't take any photos of that, but I should have. We ended up stopping in Berkeley Springs, and there is the West Virginia State Park there, and they have a lovely bathhouse with these Roman baths of heated spring water, and we always stop there for a nice soak. And then this time we actually had a massage afterwards, so that was really amazing because we've been trying so hard to get everything ready to start the seasons. We were both pretty stressed out, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get off the table because it was just liquefying. The experience was liquefying. And then one of our very favorite antique shops is right there in Berkeley Springs. I think it's called the Berkeley Springs Antique Mall, but it's the really big one that has all the glass on the front, right around the corner from the bathhouse. If you find yourself on Route 522 in Berkeley Springs, right next to the Country Inn. And we found another Hall teapot, but this one is very, very small. I didn't get a picture of it, but I'll try to remember to take one for next week, if you care. But it was like an individual size pot, which I don't really have, especially in Hall. And it's a beautiful golden yellow. And yellow is not my thing, but it is just cute as the dickens. And we've been collecting also the Hall refrigerator ware, which, not to go down a whole rabbit hole, but when they were trying to convince people in the 30s and 40s to buy a modern electric refrigerator and forego their ice box, one of the things that they used as incentives to get people to do that was refrigerator dishes, water jugs, um, and that sort of thing, made by Hall Pottery, which is actually from here in Ohio. So we were able to find a Hall um, range salt shaker. So it's a really, really big salt shaker that is meant to be kept on your fancy new stove, and the tiny yellow teapot. So that was really exciting, and probably the best way I've spent $20 in the last few months. If I could get two fun new treasures for like $20, I'm a happy girl. So we got those, and I should have taken a picture, but I forgot. So maybe I'll think about it for next time. Then we headed on down 522 to Winchester, which is one of my favorite places. I do a show there every year called the Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival, and I love the area, but I never really have time to relax and explore. Um, so we stayed at the George Washington Hotel right there in Winchester. And usually we go to Bonnie Blue, but this time I took him to my favorite little diner there where we have breakfast before the show. It's called Lynette and Jerry's. And then we had dinner. This is the view from the window at dinner at El Centro, which is my very favorite Mexican restaurant ever in the history of Mexican restaurants. It is delicious. When Scooter was alive, no matter where we were going, he would figure out a way to detour through Winchester at a mealtime so that he could go to El Centro. It's that good. Like, if there's any way that we're going anywhere near Winchester on our way from here, there, or the other place, he would figure out a way to stop at El Centro. So I wanted to honor his memory and take John there to experience our favorite Mexican restaurant. So it was delish. So then we got back on the road the next morning after breakfast at Lynette and Jerry's, which used to be the Amherst Diner. It still has neon out front, and it is absolutely 150% diner inside. I believe it was built in 1956 and has not been much updated since. It is absolutely adorable. So we headed from there on down 2 lanes through rural Virginia to Colonial Williamsburg. And that's always been one of my very favorite places. My parents started taking me there when I was about 6 weeks old. And we went at least once, usually twice a year, all of my childhood. I've been going there forever. And when I decided I was going to get into rare breeds, my dad said to go to Colonial Williamsburg and get whatever it was they had because must be good. So that started, Colonial Williamsburg actually started my career in rare and heritage breed sheep. So we went down, and as I said, I saw Hog Island sheep, and I was very excited. But 2 of the highlights of my trip were this adorable little needlework shop called Liberty Hill Needleworks, and it's all cross stitch, and it's just absolutely amazing. And if you get there, you need to go see Peggy. And they were just back from Needle Arts Market in Nashville and had so many, many beautiful things. And I may or may not have bought several of them, but shh, you don't have to tell John that. But they had a lot of beautiful designs with sheep motifs. And your girl had to buy the ones with the sheep on them. So I don't know what to tell you. It just happened. Just happened. So that was fun. And then while I was there, I mentioned to Peggy that I really liked her sweater, which was crocheted granny squares. I said, I love your crocheted granny squares. Did you make that? And she said, oh, yeah, I did. I said, oh, you're a crocheter. She says, well, knitter too. And I said, I've got a yarn company. So we got to chatting, and she says, a new yarn shop just opened in Merchant Square on Wednesday. You have to go there. It's amazing. And the owner is fabulous. And I said, okay. So we trucked off to Colorful Stitches, and it was gorgeous. So it was originally in Massachusetts, but the owner closed the shop in Massachusetts and moved herself, her family, her shop to Colonial Williamsburg and opened right in Merchant Square. And it is beautiful. So Colorful Stitches is right in Merchant Square, right in outside of the historic area. And they had the most beautiful yarns. I pulled these two images from their website because, of course, I didn't think to take a photograph. But Bonnie, the owner, is amazing, and she and I had a lovely chat. And I think you're probably going to find me and my yarn in Colonial Williamsburg, which is kind of a dream for me. If you're me, that's like the ultimate, getting my yarns into Colonial Williamsburg, because Colonial Williamsburg has had such an effect on me, my flock, my life, everything. It's kind of a full circle moment for me. So I'll keep you updated on that. But she and I had a really good conversation, and I'm very hopeful. So the other thing, we had dinner at Christiana Campbell's, and all of it, it was just the week before was Virginia Garden Week. So all of the tulips and spring flowers were blooming, and I was absolutely obsessed with these double ruffled tulips that were blooming everywhere. And I need these. They sort of look like apple blossoms, pale pink, magenta, double ruffled, gorgeous. So if you know what these are, please drop a comment down below, especially these ones. These ones I'm obsessed with. These look like peonies, but they're tulips. And I need those in my life forever. So that was very exciting. And then John and I went to, and this is where I'm talking about him sharing with me stories from his family and his childhood. So when his parents were married, they honeymooned in Colonial Williamsburg, and they had, it seems like, nearly all of their meals at this little restaurant that was way out in the country called the Old Chickahominy House. And it was built in 1962, and I'm here to tell you, like Lynette and Jerry's, I don't think they've done much since then. It is a time capsule of adorableness. And we had breakfast there both mornings that we were in Virginia, in Williamsburg. And the biscuits, the biscuits were so good. And they had Virginia ham, of course, and local sausage and really good bacon. And the iced tea was amazing. Like, we had to take a giant glass of iced tea to go because it was so good. So if you find yourself in Colonial Williamsburg, it actually is not way out in the country now. They've built Colonial Williamsburg. They've built Williamsburg, the town, pretty much up to and beyond it. So it is now pretty much in town. But if you drive down the Jamestown Road just past William and Mary, you will find the Old Chickahominy House. And the very cool thing that I loved the most, besides the amazing food, was they have a resident cat. And this is the third generation of resident cats. And the one that they have currently is called Stewie. And he stays in their gift shop, and also in in their antiques shop area. There's also an antique shop there. I did not shop because I had already spent my $20 on my teapot and my salt shaker. But Stewie just kind of lounges there and waits for folks to come and pet him. And that was another delightful feature of my trip to Williamsburg. They have Edwards Surrey County ham, these delicious biscuits, and their lunch special is Brunswick stew, ham biscuits, a slice of pie, and coffee. And it's adorable. Everything was so, so good. That right there is the old Chickahominy breakfast. Eggs, sausage, bacon, ham, grits, and biscuits. Is there anything else? So, yeah, I highly recommend that. Like, I need to go now. Like, I need to do business in Williamsburg with Bonnie so that I can go have breakfast at the old Chickahominy house. That needs to happen. I'm speaking it into the universe and manifesting breakfast at the old Chickahominy house. And then, of course, we had to go to the cheese shop for sandwiches for lunch because I've been going to the cheese shop since I was a very small child, and I dream about the cheese shop. So that was our out and about for this week. We did as much as we could possibly pack into 4 days, along with a lot of really fun relaxing. Even though the room was kind of a nightmare once we got to Williamsburg because first we had a screaming family that got up at 5:30 in the morning and screamed for hours at the children. And then we were assured that they were checking out and we wouldn't have any more screaming family. So we came back to the room to take a nap and found that they had been replaced by somebody with a barking little dog. And so we changed rooms, and that was wonderful and peaceful and quiet until about 10 p.m. that night when the family next door to the new room came home and their youngster had gotten a fun new harmonica sometime during the day. And Blues Traveler, it was not. So I just laughed and tried to go to sleep because it was just, you just had to laugh because, you just had to laugh. It was ridiculous. And then we took off and came home because I was missing my little meatball nuggets, my 2 little Fergies. And if we stayed away much longer, the Huskies would revolt. So it's time to come home. So we're home now for the foreseeable future until I go on the road, and then he goes on the road, and then I go on the road, and we just kind of go back and forth. And hopefully we'll get to take another little jaunt together at some point, but I don't know when that's going to be. So this was our little getaway for the foreseeable future. And yeah, that was so much fun. I'm really looking forward to this new season. We talked last week that, spring has sprung here in Northeast Ohio, finally. And I am loving the tulips and the strawberries and getting ready for Easter. I did all of my decorating. You guys all saw that. So tonight I'll be doing all of my baking to take to Easter dinner tomorrow. I am in charge of making dessert, so I can't decide what I'm going to make, but like I said, it's probably going to be either old-fashioned strawberry shortcake, which actually has like sweet biscuits, or angel food cake, or maybe even a peach crisp. I can't make up my mind. I'm going to try not to make all of that because sometimes that's what I do when I can't decide. But spring has sprung. I am loving all of the crab apples and the magnolias. Everything is blooming right now. The red buds. It's just really great, and I'm looking forward to getting into the garden. I read somewhere where I needed to wait a few extra weeks so that the pollinators could come up out of the garden debris. So I'm still holding off on doing my garden work. But I have big plans for this year, such big plans. And yeah, my helper person will be coming home from college in the middle of May and doing my mulching and helping me with planting the big stuff that I have on the agenda that John doesn't know about. But it's going to be fun. And I'm really loving making the garden more a reflection of me and my love for flowers and vegetable plants, and yeah, just making it my own. So for on down the road, I know we're getting a little bit long, but we have had so many new contracts in the last week. I am so very excited about all the places we are going to be going. There's some that I can tell you about. There's some I can't yet, but I'm so excited. So Maryland Sheep and Wool, of course, is in 2 weeks. Great Lakes is, I think, 4 weeks now. That's what we're doing for May. But we have added Michigan Fiber Festival with 6 classes and a double booth. Thank God for Melinda. In August, as well as Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle. I'm so excited to be going to Flock. I will be teaching 6 classes, not vending, but I'll be going by myself. I'm hoping that my Old Mean Girls girlfriends from SSK will be there as well, and I have somebody to have meals with because I don't like going places by myself where I don't know anybody without having, knowing ahead of time that I've got some friends there. So I'll be in Flock in August, and then DFW. We are vending at DFW in September. That is so exciting. September 19th through the 21st, just vending. Not going to teach this year, but definitely vending. And I love DFW so much. It's one of my favorites. And then I just signed the contract yesterday, so you guys are the first to know. It hasn't been announced yet, but I will be teaching 7 classes at SAF. 7! All day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, I am going to collapse. So, not sure how I'm getting there or any of that stuff yet. Will not be vending, just teaching. So, if you've ever wanted to take a class with me in North Carolina, here's your chance. Asheville hopefully will be rebuilt enough that we have some place to go to eat. I have been able to find a hotel, so I'm very, very excited to go and teach 6 classes at SAF and be with you guys in North Carolina, because Asheville was always one of my very favorite places. I'm a little bit sad. I'm afraid to go and see the things that aren't there anymore that I loved so much when we used to go before. But I'm hopeful that those things will come back. So come back to SAF. You've been warned. I'll be there. So that should get us through September and October. We have a couple of things still in the pipeline that may slot into October. I may not see my dogs for a couple of months. Now, I'll be back and forth, but I will be gone a lot. And we will try to maintain the schedule and keep up with bringing you these episodes so that we can all learn about different sheep breeds together. So that's on down the road for me. And again, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and like and subscribe here on YouTube. And that's where we do all of our announcements. You can sign up for the e-newsletter through the website and shop online for Hog Island roving or yarn at therossfarm.com or Cheviot Jacob or the other one that we did for the anything along. And I've totally forgotten what the third breed was. Leicester Longwool. So we will see you again next week. And until then, bye.